So my name is Tony Furiolo. I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. And I wanted to kind of talk about my childhood and how I struggled with dealing with first my sexual orientation and then my gender identity. Through my life, I was pretty much abused by my father continuously. I was supposed to be his daughter, but I acted more like his son, and I don't think he could handle it. So I was in school, and it was like 6th grade or something, and the teacher said, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I stood up and I said, I want to be a boy. And the whole class laughed at me and made fun of me for the rest of my school, let's say, life. And kind of went into isolation, did a lot of drugs, was a cutter. I used to mutilate my body. But it was really weird because even when all that was happening, I always knew that my life was going to be better. It was like the craziest thing. I was just trying to survive. So about 5 years ago, things still weren't right, you know. I mean, I had friends and my life was better. I identified as a lesbian, things were okay, I had some partners, but still I wasn't connecting with myself. And then I watched a documentary on transgender people, and I was blown away because that's who I was, and I realized it. So 5 years ago, I got my chest surgery, and as soon as I saw myself in the mirror, my life just totally changed. And I became an activist for my community, and I work a lot with the youth. First I was a mentor, and then I said, you know, there's got to be more than this one trans kid that needs my help. So I started a youth group for trans kids between the ages of 14 and 17. And it is amazing how when I'm sitting in a room with a kid and the kid's like crying, I'm cutting myself, I don't want to be in school. I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, everything's okay. I was there. So it's almost like working with the kids, it rights all my wrongs. Like, you know, I always wondered why I was abused so much and that I was a cutter and I did so much drugs. Like, why was all that thrown on one person? And now I know why. Sometimes you got to dig really deep and fight like an animal to survive, but there'll come a day where you'll sit back and say, that was all worth it. All that pain was worth it because now I'm happy and I'm me.
My name is Drew Levisard, and I'm a trans guy. I started realizing that I was transgender right around when I was 27. It was a really scary time when I started realizing I was trans because I had had a lesbian wedding, 2 white dresses, and I was very visibly a lesbian, very much identifying in that culture. And gay bars were where it was like the place that I could go to feel safe and to feel like I could be myself. It was the summer of 2003. My best friend, who was 29, unexpectedly passed away from a brain hemorrhage. And that night I wanted to go to the gay bar to be myself and be who I am. And so that night I went out, I went in the bar, and I decided I'm going to use the men's bathroom for the first time. And this was a really scary, courageous step for me to take, is to start, you know, it was my one little step forward. And unfortunately, this bouncer came in after me and said, "You're in the wrong bathroom." And it was because of what happened to my best friend and just, you know, what I was going through at the time. I just had this like, no, I'm not, and I wasn't going to leave. So it just, you know, it escalated, and he asked for my ID. And of course, you know, I felt scared of him, so I pulled out my ID, and it had an F on it, and I felt very ashamed and embarrassed and really degraded, and I felt really powerless handing him my ID and he looked at it and said, "See, get out." And I did. And so I took it upon myself to file a complaint with the Human Rights Commission. The lesbians that own the bar said during the hearing, we don't have to do anything for those people. And that was my wake-up call, that my community of 10, 12 years was turning on me. After all that was said and done, I never got an apology from that, and I felt so angry and just like, you know, unfinished. And a group of us started New England Transgender Pride, but a month before the rally, I got a call from that gay bar, and they said, "We heard there's a Pride March happening. We want to sponsor the after party." So I said, "Okay, well, I'd like to meet with you first." So my partner and I and a friend who's also an attorney, we went into the bar and met with this lesbian, the 2 lesbian owners. And I just brought up, I never got that apology, and I reminded them what happened, and then she reached across the table and touched my hand and said, "I'm sorry." I got my apology 5 years later, because we took action and said, you know, we have this respect and we deserve it.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm originally from Laurel, Mississippi. And once upon a time, I was a little boy, but I think a more accurate way of saying that is I was a little girl trapped in a little boy's body. I remember I changed schools like when I was in 6th grade. And the first day of school, the teacher took the whole class to the bathroom, and you divided up and went to your respective bathrooms. And I, of course, went into the boys' bathroom, and the teacher ran in behind me and pulled me out and says, "Oh, you're in the wrong bathroom, you're in the wrong bathroom." And it was so embarrassing because all the kids were laughing at me. The kids used to make fun of me at the swimming pool because I didn't want to take my shirt off, and all the other little boys would take their shirts off and go swimming. And when they would play basketball and they would pick teams, and there would be shirts and skins, and I did not want to be on the skins team. And it was just little things like that. And I've been put in trash cans. I was shoved against my locker. I mean, the name calling is just, it's something I'd never ever want to relive again. Growing up in a Southern Baptist family, I always knew that they weren't going to accept me, changing from being a boy to a girl. I knew that that was just not something that was ever going to be acceptable to them. So I had to wait until I went to college. So the day I went to college, I graduated from high school, I left home immediately and went to college. My parents dropped me off at school at my first apartment, and I went and got my first caboodle and bought a bunch of makeup, and I would just sit around in dresses, and it was like a very happy time in my life. And there weren't a lot of instances from that point on that I ever dressed as a boy again, except for over the next year, year and a half, when I would go to my parents' house. I would have to, obviously, but once they found out, I didn't talk to them for several years. They weren't on board with it. But I spent my entire life, as a girl, and from that point on, I was a girl. And I do want to add that now my parents have started coming around. It's taken almost 10, 11 years for them to come around, but they're finally starting to accept me for who I am, and that just is like the cherry on top of the cake. It's awesome.
Hello, my name is Kate Bornstein, and this is my video to tell you that it gets better. I want to thank Dan Savage for putting this project together. I want to thank everyone who's posted before I have, and thank everyone who's posted after I've posted. I waited this long to post here because I don't always think it is going to get better. Sometimes it gets worse, a whole lot worse than I ever thought it would get worse. And on those days, I don't think it's going to get better. So I had to wait till I thought it would. This is a day I think it's going to get better. It only took me about a week to get to this day. So what do you know? It got better. See? See? Here's the deal. I'm 62 years old. I've led a freaky, geeky life. I've messed around with sex and gender. I'm not going to go into details. I've done a lot of things in the world that make people laugh at me, make people want to hurt me, and to the point where I want to kill myself. I can remember 6 times in my life that I've planned it all out, ready to kill myself, and fuck it, why go on? It's not going to get better. And each time I managed to find something else to do instead. done lots of things like that. I've found lots of reasons to go on living, lots of ways to make life more worth living. And that's all I'm asking you to do. Right? It's easy. I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Hello Cruel World, 101 Alternatives to Suicide for Teens, Freaks, and Other Outlaws. There's 101 things in there that are better than killing yourself. Some of them are illegal, immoral, unethical, self-destructive, but they're all in the book. You don't have to buy the book. No, please, no. Buy it for laughs when you've got some extra cash. Great. Help me pay the rent. That's not the deal. The deal is this. Here's all you need to remember to know that life gets better. You can do whatever it takes to make your life more worth living. Really. Anything, baby. You can do anything it takes to make your life more worth living. Anything. There's only one rule you need to follow in order to make that kind of blanket permission work. Only one rule in the whole frickin' book. Don't be mean. If you're not mean, you can do whatever you want that makes your life more worth living. Now, if you do the illegal stuff and you get caught, can't help you. That's the justice system. It's a risk. Sometimes that's all that I can think of to make my life more worth living is the illegal stuff. And if I get caught, you couldn't help me. Oh well. But do it. Take the risk. Do whatever it takes to make your life more worth living. Please. Just don't be mean. Now, the trouble with this kind of permission, this kind of, oh, I can do whatever it takes, is that it can get you in trouble with God. Especially the sex and gender stuff. That can get you in big trouble with most anybody's God you can think of. You can get sent to hell. Well, I can't get you out of jail, but I can get you out of hell. Really, here we go. Go to my blog and download a copy of this Get Out of Hell Free card. You can print it out, give it to your friend. You don't even need the card. Here, I'm going to give you one from my heart. It's a Get Out of Hell Free card. Coming here, coming at you. Take it if you want to. Boink. Put it in your heart if you want to. Okay, good. Got it in your heart? Okay, good. Now, do whatever it takes to make your life more worth living. Anything at all. Just don't be mean. And if what it takes to make your life more worth living, and you weren't mean, get you sent to hell, take the card out of your heart, give it to Satan. I'll do your time for you. Yeah, ain't that a deal? It's a deal I made with the devil. Yeah. Satan and I agreed on that one. So, you get to do whatever it takes to make your life more worth living. Anything, baby. Anything at all. You get to do that, as long as you're not mean. And that's how you can make your life get better. That's how you can look back on life and say, you know, it did get better. I love you. I love you for the courage it takes to explore this stuff. Kiss, kiss, my darling.
Hi everybody, it's me, Kathy. This is regarding the string of recent gay teen suicides, but I'm not just speaking to the gays, so listen up everybody. LGBT folks, I've met you. I've seen you at my shows. I know you're there. Even in the Bible Belt where you think you're alone, you're not alone. I see you, and there's help. I've spent a lot of time with homeless gay teens, and it can be heartbreaking. These are kids who, in some cases, have been disowned by their families, kicked to the curb like dogs. What I learned is that they're up to 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than straight kids. 4 times more likely. There's a great organization that everyone should support. It's called the Trevor Project. And the people there are dedicated to preventing suicide among gay youth. They have a 24-hour toll-free confidential lifeline. So anyone who is feeling depressed or suicidal, please call them. The number is 1-866-4U-TREVOR. They also have a great website, thetrevorproject.org. I also put a link on my site, kathygriffin.net, so you can get to there through that as well. I happily do stand-up all over the USA, including some of the most conservative areas. I did a special in the Bible Belt, and look, those places may not look like the gay neighborhood in the large city near you, but trust me, there are many gays and lesbians there too. So all the gay teens who are watching this, even if you're in a very Republican area or a conservative town, you're not alone. Newsflash, if 10 to 12% of the entire country is gay, so are the people in your neighborhood. And there's nothing wrong with them. And there's nothing wrong with you. So let's talk about these bullies. I just don't think they came up with this anti-gay bias on their own. They weren't born with it. The politicians, so-called religious leaders, and pundits who have made careers out of saying that being gay is wrong or immoral or that gays are somehow less than, they all have blood on their hands. Yes, all you anti-gay public figures, and you know who you are, you have the blood of these dead teens on your hands. Remember trickle-down economics back in the 80s? Well, this is just trickle-down homophobia. That's why it's so important that Prop 8 gets thrown out by the Supreme Court and Don't Ask, Don't Tell gets repealed. Because right now the message the government is sending our young people is that it's unacceptable and inferior to be gay. And that's when you grow up thinking you're a second-class citizen when you're not. As you know, officially I'm not a parent, though unofficially I'm guardian to my 90-year-old mother Maggie and her box of wine. And I have to say, it really drives me crazy when I hear that parents are defending these bullies. Parents saying about these kids that are bullying, oh, they're just being kids. That's bullshit. It's about right and wrong. And by the way, no, I'm not a lesbian, although I have played one on Law & Order SVU. Thanks for nothing, any voters. But what I can say with great confidence is it does get better. You know why? 2 words, Susie Orman. Yeah, there you go. About 300 million reasons why there's nothing wrong with being gay. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Buck Angel, and I'm doing this for Dan Savage's It Gets Better. I feel really sad that I have to do this, but also really excited that he has this project going. I just want to reach out to you kids and let you know that I really had a tough time when I was a kid. People didn't understand me. People didn't get that I felt like a guy. I got teased. I was in fights constantly. I was isolated. I didn't know who to reach out to. I tried to commit suicide a couple times. I would cut my arms. And I would do all those things that you kids are doing today. But I didn't kill myself. I survived. And really, it's important for all you guys to know that there's help. I get emotional because I made it. I made it, and you can make it too. There's so much help out there today for you guys. For Dan to do this is huge, and for us to be able to reach out to you kids and let you know that you don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to do it. Look at me. Look who I am today. I'm here because I did it, and you can do it. Reach out. There's a lot of organizations for you now. I'm going to post those organizations at the end of this message for you. And if you need to talk to somebody, if you even need to talk to me, you can do that. I always answer my emails. Please, think about it. It's there. Life will get better for you. It really will. I promise you. Stay strong.
Hi, I'm Matt Cayley. I am a female-to-male transsexual. I'm also the managing editor of Outfront Colorado newspaper, one of the oldest LGBT publications in the country. I'm a published author, I'm a speaker, I'm a blogger, I'm an instructor, and I have a great life. I transitioned 13 years ago and don't regret it for a minute. When I was growing up, it was a long time ago. I've been around a long time. When I was in junior high and high school, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have any kind of resources. It wasn't invented yet. So we had nowhere to go. We had nobody to turn to. Luckily now we have at least some communication for people and some way for people to get support and assistance. I had a lot of problems just being a nerd. I wasn't necessarily trans-acting, trans-specific, trans-visible in junior high and high school. I was just a nerd, and I didn't know why, and nobody else did either. So I got picked on a lot. But it was tough, and I just kept going. I made it. I went to college. I got a job. I am here now, many, many years later. I'm very glad that I am. There were times that were really, really rough. But I'm here now so that I can tell you that it gets better. It gets incrementally better. It gets constantly better. It gets exponentially better. It will continue to get better. I promise you that. I literally can promise you that. Because I've been there, I know it, I've seen it, and I've seen it with dozens and hundreds of other people. I ran a female-to-male trans support group for 5.5 years. I saw people come into my support group scared and alone and confused and suicidal. And I saw them leave after a period of time whole and authentic and happy, with partners, with lives, with jobs. It gets better. I'm alive now to tell you that. And I want you to be alive so that you can tell somebody else that in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. It gets better. Don't forget it.
You know, growing up is really hard, and when you're an LGBT youth, it's even more difficult. You know, you can feel like you're the only person like you in the world, or you'll be dealing with bullying in school or judgment from your family, and it's really easy to get into a mind frame of, you know, life is never going to get better. This is what it's going to be like, and I'm always going to feel like an outsider, and I'm always going to feel bad about myself. And, you know, I just want to let you know that it gets better. When you grow up, you realize that you're not alone, and that there are lots and lots of people, communities of people just like you, who are willing to embrace you and support you and love you. And you need to hang around and, you know, wait for that magic to happen, because life is really great. Even when you're different, life is, you know, is really a wonderful thing. And, you know, I've gone through a lot of that stuff of really feeling different. And you know, I only came out as a transgender man about 1.5 years ago, and even as an adult I was living with this secret and feeling weird, and I got it out, and, you know, once again I feel great, and I've found myself in a new community and embraced. And, you know, that's what happens when you can finally get to be honest about who you are and find others like you. You know, I have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful partner who I've been with for over 5 years, and if I had let any, you know, of the fear that I had at different points throughout my life in high school, feeling different, and even as an older person feeling different, you know, if I had done something drastic and missed out on that, I would have been missing out on the greatest life and the best times of my life. So, you know, don't let anybody tell you that there's something wrong with you if you're different. There's not. And when you get a little bit older and have a little bit more resources, you're going to find other wonderful people who are different just like you. So, you know, hang in there and just remember, it does get better.
Hi, my name is Gwen Howarth. I'm a queer transgender filmmaker, homeless shelter worker, and sometimes college instructor. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of Dan Savage and so many others in suggesting that if you're queer and trans, it can indeed get so much better after high school. Dan suggested that we talk about the positive things, so I just want to mention a few of them for me. One is community. Ever since I came out as trans, I feel like I've had amazing queer, straight, trans folk around me that really helped me understand diversity and accept my own uniqueness and feel more comfortable in my skin as an open trans person. Dating, I thought I would not get to date anybody unless I had a fetish after I came out as trans, but that's been so not the case. I've been able to meet so many lovely, diverse people and engage with them on a deeper level than I ever thought possible. Work. I work at an amazing place, a housing and support service society for people dealing with multiple barriers like mental health and addictions. We're harm reduction based, we're about meeting people where they're at, and I feel that that's been extended to the workers as well. So I feel truly appreciated there, and I feel like I'm giving back to community, so that really rocks. The last one I want to mention is I did a Master of Fine Arts after I came out as trans, and the people there were really accepting and supportive as well, and so I was able to make a film, a feature doc called She's a Boy I Knew, about being transgendered and looking at my transition through my parents, my sisters, my best friend, and my ex-wife's eyes. If you told me 10 or 15 years ago that I would make something so public, so openly about being trans, I would have thought you were full of it. But because of the wonderful folk in my life, I was able to make it, and it's been able to be screened at a lot of places, and I got to go to Romania, Iceland, Amsterdam, Brazil, Australia to talk about being queer and trans. That's like 180 degrees different from what I was doing before I ever came out. So know that it can indeed get better. There are amazing, exceptional people and community out there that can really support you and foster your voice, and it's worth sticking it out.
Hi, my name is Paul, and my name is also Bryn. I'm the owner and administrator of bigender.net. I was never a cool kid. I was short, skinny, smart, and hardly the pinnacle of masculinity. Not to mention my penchant for befriending gay, lesbian, and queer kids. Bullies found plenty of reasons to target me, and I hadn't even come out to myself as bigender and bisexual. But that didn't stop anyone from calling me fag, homo, queer, or hitting, pushing, and shoving me. I was lucky not to be wholly isolated because I had friends amongst the other social rejects, but they couldn't stop the bullies any more than I could. I knew something was different about me to begin with, and the bullies and the adults who made no move to restrain them only confirmed it. I became ashamed of who I am. I became afraid of talking to other people, terrified that they would learn my horrible, shameful secret. That secret, though, was the real me, the authentic me. I became adept at appearing to be who people wanted me to be and hiding all of the pain I felt away from the prying eyes of the world. Time and again, I thought of suicide as an escape. I wanted the pain to be gone, and I saw no point in continuing. I came close to attempting it a couple times too, but the thought of the pain it would cause my father, who had already lost my mother, always stopped me. So I stayed alive and endured for him, never for myself. I never thought it would be possible to want to stay alive because I valued me and my life and my opportunities. I was wrong. I held on, even if for the wrong reasons, but I held on. And I learned and grew. I still kept myself hidden away in a blanket of fear and shame, afraid to be truly honest with who I am and how I wanted to live my life. I learned it late, but I finally learned the lesson that given time, it gets better. High school is a time of torment for those who don't conform to societal norms, and there is tremendous pressure on everyone to reinforce those norms. But here's the secret. No one conforms. No one fits, and everyone is afraid of not measuring up. Some people react by trying to change who they are. Some react by trying to change others, and some react by lashing out in anger at every threat to the norms they are trying so hard to uphold. But it gets better. After high school, you'll enter the world, and you'll see that people come in every shape and size. No one is a paragon of normal, and everyone has some secret that they fear being exposed. Your life can be fulfilling, happy, and normal, however you choose to define it. But to get there, you have to endure and make it through. If you're considering suicide, please, be smarter than I was. Seek help. Go online. There will be someone there who is feeling the same pain you're feeling. Call a suicide hotline like the Trevor Project at 1-866-4U-TREVOR. That's 1-866-488-7386. Visit their website, www.thetrevorproject.org. A happy life is waiting for you to arrive. Please make it there.
Hi, I'm Sahara Davenport.
And I'm Manila Luzon.
And we just have to say, regardless of what you're going through,
or regardless of who doesn't understand you,
just know that it gets better.
It gets a lot better.
It gets better.
It gets a lot better.
It gets better.
It gets so much better.
You ain't gonna get the last word. It gets better!
All through high school, I knew I was gay, but I hid it from everyone. I told myself that I'd kill myself after my parents were dead because I didn't want to break their heart.
I was the typical straight girl. I had the boyfriend, I was the president of my high school, I played sports, but I knew I was different.
I felt like I had to be this, masculine, normal guy that, because people constantly say to me now, you don't seem gay to me. Like, I would have never known unless you had told me.
I would go to bed at night and I would pray to God that I wasn't gay.
The community that I had as a child was hating me and preaching to others to hate me and think something was wrong with me.
People would call me gay, call me faggot, but I would always find a way to push that off or say, no, I wasn't.
I'm pretty proud of who I am, and if I show you who I am and you don't like it, it puts the responsibility back on you to actually have to decide how to deal with me, but I don't have to be the one to carry it.
It just seems like so much control to give really ignorant people who don't actually care that much about you, In a lot of cases, you're caring more about their opinion than they are caring about you.
Even though I had friends who were gay and people who were open, you still think that you're the only one that's going through exactly what you're going through. You think you're gonna lose your friend, you're gonna lose your family. I'd get kicked out of the sorority. Nobody from high school would like me again.
Telling my parents actually took the longest, which is surprising because they're very liberal and it was not something that I thought that they would have a problem with.
I told them that I loved them, that I was their son, and my brother's brother, and that in addition to all those things, I was gay.
I went through a really deep depression feeling that I wouldn't be loved by my family anymore in the way that I had been loved before I came out.
I think the pain that I've sort of held in over my life of just dealing with, the bullying and the name calling, and so that made it a little difficult.
My mom started crying. She was crying on the way home. I drove. And at one point, she held my hand, which sort of let me know that everything was going to be okay, as horrible as I felt about the decision of coming out to them.
And then this one Christmas, Mum went out and bought me some clothes, and they were like super tight and super gay, and I realized that things were better. And from that point forward, things have been a lot cooler with my parents.
My children's response was like, what's that then, Dad? My eldest was like, wow, Dad, that's kind of really trippy.
It's been a series of baby steps over the years, but now my partner gets birthday cards and Christmas gifts from my family, which is huge, and I never thought I would live to see that day.
I certainly think my mom saw me getting a husband and a few kids, and she did say that she mourned a few dreams for me when I first told her. Although I think in seeing me over the last 15 years since then, she's seen a lot of those dreams come to life.
If you're a parent out there and you're watching this, talk to your kid. Just love them. Just tell them every day that you love them. That's why I was able to come out. I knew my parents might have been disappointed, which they were at first, but they loved me.
No matter how lonely you felt or unsure I felt about the future, just being myself was enough.
My fraternity brothers, all of whom were straight, came to me and said, Peter, if you could change and be straight, would you? And I thought for a second, I said, absolutely not. And I know that in high school, that answer would have been completely different. It would have been a resounding yes. But then, as you grow and you realize that being gay is a part of who you are and what makes you unique and what makes you great, you realize that it's something you don't want to let go of.
Being gay isn't just this one thing where you're in theater or you're a performer, like interior designer. We do all things. I mean, I work in online advertising sales, and we have engineers, and we have people who do all kinds of valuable things. So just remember that.
Make baby steps. Find someone that you really trust, and tell them how you feel. It really helps to just get that burden off and just talk to one person, maybe your closest friend, maybe a close family member, a teacher, a guidance counselor, and just let them know how you're feeling. And it doesn't have to be a huge announcement.
There are people around you who care about you, and ultimately, that care and that love that's there, that transcends everything else.
You can be brave and you can make your way through it. Like, it gets better, it gets much, much better, and what you go through now will help define you and help make you a stronger person in the future.
So I need you youth who are out there, those of you who are in junior high and high school, I need you to stay around. I need you to make this world a better place for my daughter. I don't want her to ever think twice about not telling people that she has 2 moms. So if you're out there and you're struggling, I need you to stay around because I need you. I need your help. I need you to, be your authentic self and make this world just better for my little girl.
Bullying also happens online just like it does offline. And when that happens, it's a really terrible thing and something we want to work to stop, and we need your help. If you see anything that shouldn't be on Facebook, we have a link on every page. Report this content, use it. Help us make sure that Facebook and other places online are used as they should be.
Hey-o, Kermit the Frog here, reporting live from, well, my house. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about something important. I am green. And it's not easy being green. You see, when I was younger, I never realized I was green. In fact, I didn't know what it meant to be green. But as I grew older and explored the forest, meeting other animals and learning about this huge planet we live on, it seemed the more I learned about the world, the less I felt a part of it. Too small, too different, too green. I wasn't sure if I'd ever find a place where I fit in, and sometimes that's a pretty lonely feeling. But the truth is, you're not alone. None of us are. You see, besides being green or not, there are other, more important things that make us alike. These very feelings that I'm talking about, if you've ever felt them too, then you and me, we're alike. Because we're alike, I know I can say this, and I can say this because I've been there. It gets better. But you've got to make it better, and you've got to believe it gets better. So do me this. If anyone is harassing you or bullying you, talk to someone. A teacher, a parent, a preacher. And don't stop talking about it until they do something about it. And everyone else out there, do something about it. Lives are at stake. So that's me. And that's what I have to say. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nya, 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 I'm a frog. Nya, 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 I'm a frog. This is how I warm up as me. Mm-hmm.
So, Miss J, does it get better?
Trust me, it gets better. I've been called every name under the sun. I've been called faggot, homo, sissy, ugly black drag queen, tragic tranny, baboon lips, liver lips, little black sambo, Gatorade, you name it, I've been called it. But you know what I did? I took my life in my own hands and I went to the bridge and I decided to jump. Oh, hell no. I decided to throw those names in the river and I said to myself, sticks and stones may break my bones, but all those shady, horrible words made me what? Wealthy with mind, spirit, body, soul, personality, and character. And trust me, kids, it gets better. Because talent can carry you where bullying cannot. It does get better.
Do your thing.
I started to write my own songs before I started doing Kiki and Her, but it didn't seem to work with either with Kenny and my dynamic or with the character, I don't know, but I sort of put it aside and I found it very intimidating. Well, I love interpreting songs and that was part of it too, you know. For the longest time I thought, well, there are so many great songs, what do I have to say that hasn't already been said beautifully by someone else? But this next song is a song that I wrote, well, when I was when I was very young, I grew up in Hagerstown, Maryland, and, woo! Right. Have you been back there lately? Because I got in trouble once for going to school, because my mother's philosophy was never leave the house without your lipstick, so I was in first grade and I put on lipstick and go to school. And I did it for several days until my mom noticed, what's on your lips? When I was a kid, I didn't really have the words for it, and I was, you're a boy, boys don't do this. There were certain assumptions and expectations of the ways that I was supposed to behave, based on the fact that I was a boy. And I've spent most of my adult life asserting my transgenderness, but when I get older and I may not be as strong or as articulate as I am now, I don't want to be in the same position I was and in the same frustrating situation I was when I was a kid, where I'm sort of lumped in with the old man and told, like, you have to do this, you have to do that because you're an old man. So my body and my medical records will establish the fact that I'm not. There you go. Get your passports ready. There's going to be a new box to tick before long.
And what box did you have?
Mix for prefix and T for gender.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because if I say male or woman, either way I'm lying. So bring on some flight of fancy. Bring on a magic decree. Bring on a high heel tranny. Bring on fantasy.
take your time. Just take your time and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Janet. I was welcomed into this world as Charles, the firstborn son of my parents in Honolulu, Hawaii. I was probably about 4 years old when I knew that I was a girl. No one else knew this but me, but it became my very first conviction. My gender was my very first this I know for sure moment, as Oprah likes to call it. And throughout middle school and high school, as puberty began to hit, I began to hate myself. I began to hate my body. I began to hate the fact that real girls were blossoming into these women, and I remained this trapped girl in this boy's body. I'd sit in bed at night wishing that I was given some genie who would magically appear and make me a woman, number one, make me the girl I knew I was inside. And number two, fast forward those 4 years of high school, because I didn't want to endure it. As I began my freshman year, I began transitioning from Charles to Janet. I was teased and I was taunted and I was bullied. But I had my dreams, which made me braver and made me more certain in who I was. But I wasn't able to thrive until I asked for help. I needed to ask for help. And with the help of really great friends who understood me and who listened, and with the really big support of teachers and counselors in school, I thrived through those 4 years. I even won my school's only academic scholarship to the University of Hawaii. I couldn't believe that I was becoming my dream. I've since moved from Hawaii to New York, where I can say that I've finally found my people. I have a boyfriend whom I love, friends who love me just as I am, despite my past, despite everything. And I have a career as a writer that gives me meaning and gives me real purpose. And I know that you can live the life of your dreams as well. I promise that it gets better. I know because I am you. I love you, and I can't wait to see you on the other side.
Hi, my name is Andrew Viveros, and I am transgender. I was recently crowned prom queen by my South Florida high school, and I want you to know that it gets better. It gets so much better. I want everyone who's watching this, everyone that has been bullied, taunted, or put down because they're different, to know that I am living proof that it gets better. Throughout my life, I've had to overcome many tough obstacles due to who I am. Those obstacles have led me to become my school's Gay Straight Alliance president, and look, I'm still here. We live in a beautiful country where you're free to express yourself any way you wish, yet negativity is still present. If you feel that you have to take your own life because you feel there's no hope, you'll never know what greatness life has in store for you. Believe me, you can achieve greatness if you stay true to yourself. If you need someone to talk to, someone who's been there, please join my Facebook page because I want to hear your story. The link is facebook.com/Queen Andrew Viveros. Know that you are loved, and it does get better.
My name is Laverne Cox, and I'm from Mobile, Alabama. Until recently, I have had a tremendous amount of shame about the bullying I experienced as a child. Whenever something would happen and my mother would find out, she would yell at me and say, well, why didn't you fight back? Or why are you fighting back? And then she would also say, what are you doing to make them treat you like that? So I felt like it was my fault. We took the bus to school every day. I have a twin brother, and the kids couldn't beat us up on the bus because the bus driver was sort of watching in the rearview mirror. But we knew that as soon as we got off the bus, we had to take off running, or we'd get beaten up. And for years, I joked that I was a very fast runner as a child, and it was sort of my way of deflecting from how painful it was to sort of feel like I was always in danger. Up until that point, everyone was telling me that I was a boy. I was 8 years old, and I was convinced that I was a girl. The therapist told my mom, and she yelled at me, boys are this way and girls are this way, and there was just this big thing, you know. And I again internalized a lot of shame about the way I was thinking about myself and about who I was. I loved to dance as a kid. I was always dancing around. I would dance in the supermarket. I would just dance everywhere. Back when PE was in schools, when the kids were doing free play, I was off dancing to music that was always in my head, and I was always sort of, you know, had characters that I was playing and making up. And so I begged from 5 years old to 8 years old to be in dance classes, and my mom finally found a program for me, and I believe that saved my life. I did try to commit suicide once when I was about 11 years old, unsuccessfully. But I didn't have school. My mom's a teacher, and education and reading, and something that I loved and that was good at. I don't think I would have survived. I didn't feel safe at all as a kid. And I've had moments like that as an adult, but the difference with me as an adult is that I have support now. I have people in my life who support and validate me as who I am. As a kid, when kids were saying all these awful things about me, I thought that that was the truth of who I was. And as an adult now, I find myself wanting to go back into, oh, if people are saying this about me, it must be true. But then I'm like, well, no. I have people around me who are supportive and who are amazing, who love me, who are like, no, what these people are saying about you is not who you are. And I know that that's not who I am. This past Christmas, my mom and I, we were just talking, and we hadn't talked about the bullying stuff, but you know, my mom's very aware of what's been going on in the news with all the bullying stories. And she, it just sort of came up, and she just said, just out of nowhere, she just said, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to, I didn't know what to do. I'm sorry that I didn't know how to deal with it. She had her way, and she thought that was the way, and it didn't work. And she loves me, you know, and she supports me, and she's proud of me, and that's all I ever really wanted as a kid, is to have my mom be proud of me. That's all I wanted, and she is. So that's kind of amazing.
I'm Bruce.
And I'm Diane.
We're the parents of a transgender child.
We're parents of 5-year-old Jake, who is a trans boy.
My name is Catherine. I'm parent to an 18-year-old trans girl.
I thought 20 years worth that I had a daughter, and I discovered instead that I had a son.
Those early days were very difficult. I was scared. I felt alone. I felt somehow responsible for having done this to my child.
You're not alone in this.
It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong.
Your kids are incredibly resilient, incredibly brave for coming out and letting you know how they're feeling and what they're thinking.
To have the opportunity, even in a very small way, participate in their coming to know themselves better, it's really a gift.
I got educated. I looked up PFLAG, I got involved, and she's so much happier now that we've accepted her for who she is.
Get the support, go to PFLAG, go to different organizations, find out what's going on, and I swear it'll make sense to you and there'll be a peace in your house.
I think for me the hardest part was telling other people and not knowing how they were going to react, especially friends and family. And what I found was a lot of love and support. Certainly people had questions, but they were willing to learn. and it really does get a lot better.
Our advice to you is to love and support your child.
And to find support for yourself.
And we want you guys to know that there is support out there and nothing to be afraid of.
It gets better.
It gets better.
It does get better.
It gets better.
It does get better.
It gets better.
It gets so much better, and you can make it better.
To learn more about how it gets better, watch In the Life this April and meet 8 families who share their journeys with transgender and gender nonconforming youth.
I've been thinking all day about the moon. Like, is it an accident that women menstruate once a month and that the moon comes once a month? Are other animals synchronized in this way with the moon? You know, my brother works in mental health, and he says that there's a lot more hospitalizations and periods of activity during the full moon. It's a known fact in mental health that people are more excitable around the full moon. And then what about the fact that we're made of 70% water? And then the whole ocean reacts to the full moon, right? In a serious way. Everything's ticking around that moon. And if we're 70% water, I must be having some at least homeopathic relationship with the changing cycles of the moon. I can't escape my obsession with the idea that I'm made out of this place, because I was raised to believe that I fundamentally was constituted of spiritual matter that was from somewhere else, like heaven or from a sky god. Like Gore Vidal talks about sky gods, and I really picked up that language because in patriarchal monotheisms, we all worship a god elsewhere who has a plan for us in a paradise elsewhere. After we die, there'll be a paradise waiting for us. And this place is like a kind of a workstation where we sort of get all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted before we go off to a real spiritual dimension. But I'm a witch. I actually de-baptized myself. And what's great about being transgender is that you're born with a natural religion. It applies almost across the board, no matter what culture or economic group or nation that you're from. You're almost automatically a witch. None of the patriarchal monotheisms will have you. It's very clear that in most of those religions, you'd be put to death. In many parts of the world, you still are put to death. Did you hear what the Pope said a couple of years ago on Christmas? He said that the marriage of gays and lesbians was as much a threat to the future of our world as the collapse of the rainforests. So that gives you a sense, just an inkling of his approach, you know, to the homosexual question. And that's just the homosexual question. He didn't even address the transgender question. God knows what we've caused. All sorts of wars and strife. All manner of hurt. I'm worried that the ecology of the world is collapsing and that I won't have anywhere to be reborn. Because I actually believe, like, where's any of us going? Where have any of us ever gone? We've come back here in some other form. Did you know that whales were once land-roaming mammals? And then they crawled back into the ocean, trying to find something to eat, and eventually they got rid of their hands and legs? I've been searching and searching for that little bit of my constitution that isn't of this place, and I still haven't found it. Every atom of me, every element of me seems to resonate. It seems to reflect the great world around me. So I've come to the conclusion that this is God's best idea, that this manifest world is the frontier of his dream, or her dream, in my opinion. So that's just my point of view from where I can start to establish a new way to value the world that I'm a part of. Because if I'm not heading off to paradise elsewhere when I die, then I have more of a vested interest in observing a sustainable relationship with this place. It's a very indigenous idea that the earth is a female, that the earth menstruates, that the water of the world is the blood of the woman's body. And that's what we crawled out of, just in the same way that we crawled out of our mother's wombs. It's the most basic idea. Any child could come up with it. And it's so obvious. And yet we've been straining for these sky gods for a couple thousand years now. And I remember praying to God when I was like 6 years old. I was raised Catholic, and I prayed really hard, and I waited and waited to hear that summons. I think in a funny way, a lot of my music, I'm listening for that response still. I've heard two rumors about the Dalai Lama. One is that he said he wasn't going to be reincarnating because the world was going to be too dangerous. And that's probably just a rumor. But then I heard a far more interesting new rumor, which is that the Dalai Lama has said that the next time he incarnates, it will be as a girl, which would be the first in the history of Buddhism. But I think that that is the most revolutionary thing he could possibly do and the most helpful spiritual gesture that he could make. And I'm very interested in the feminization of the deities. I'm very interested in Jesus as a girl. I'm extremely interested in Allah as a woman. And contrary to popular opinion, it's not bad to say that. You can say it. I mean, you might get a little letter in the mail, but I'm probably due 100 letters in the mail already, so it's a wonderful day to die. But nonetheless, Allah as a woman is a critical threshold, and Buddha as a mother is another one. Because I truly believe that unless we move into feminine systems of governance, we don't have a chance on this planet. And I think that, yeah. And there's no one else that can lead the masses to do that except for like the major religious institutions. And I'm someone, that's looking for a reason to hope. And for me, hope looks like feminine systems of governance being instated in like the major religious institutions and throughout corporate and civil life. And it might sound far-fetched, but if you look at your own beliefs, just imagine how quickly you've accepted the idea that the ocean's rising and that the ecology of our world is collapsing. We can actually imagine that more readily than we can imagine a switch from patriarchal to matriarchal systems of governance. A subtle shift in the way our society works. It's obviously a very broad statement. And of course, Sarah Palin exists, so don't bother me with that. But Sarah Palin is working very much within patriarchal systems. I just love that moment when Benazir Bhutto was being interviewed and she just talked about motherhood and daughters and how she wished she'd done more for the girls of her country. For as problematic as she was, she's an exciting forerunner.